Dr. Grant, my dear Dr. Sattler, welcome to Jurassic Park.
Life finds a way of getting in the way or burning you out. Hello, I'm Beck, or right now I guess I'm cosplaying Ian Malcolm. So this island has been complete for a couple of months now, but I've been working a lot and I haven't had much time for YouTube, honestly. I started this island in January of 2022, and much like Jurassic Park itself, it was abandoned. Oops. Honestly, Nintendo abandoned us first. They dropped the 2.0 update and were never seen again, so that did make me quite burnt out with New Horizons. My poor villagers were abandoned for just over 2 years. Oops. But a couple of months back, I got a random spark of inspiration and I managed to do this entire island, start to finish, in maybe just over a week, so let's tour it. So this is obviously the entrance where you arrive by plane, of course. Quite a lot going on, grand entrance, you know. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, of course. We need all the bells and whistles. Coming through the big iconic park gates, we have our waiting area for the transport to the main park area. I didn't make these cut-out custom designs, and I honestly don't have the codes for them either to hand, but I just googled something like New Horizons Jurassic Park car, and you'll find them if you wanted them. We drive through the pipe/tunnel and emerge at Main Street/resident services. I have to point out the mossy cave, as I love this item so much. I think it works so well as the tunnel for our transport. Again, another waiting area for the transport back home, a little bridge and signage for the museum. The museum honestly doesn't have too much space to work with, as I wanted it to be its own little island while also displaying as many cool and different dinos as I could. But I think it works well. The winding path leading up is cute. I love the cutout of Mr. DNA. It's a simple but effective area. Coming back down towards resident services, we have our Main Street area. It's sort of like a shopping and souvenir side of the park, but as you'll see, I've set up the island similarly to the concept of the park of the film, in that it's sort of like a guided loop of the park where you end up where you started, like at the entrance, like if that makes sense. We'll start with Nooks, which again is small, simple. It's got a couple of shopping trolleys, some stock on a trolley, a stack of newsletters for the park, and of course a cash machine so you can pay for the extortionate gift shop prices. Abel's is more of a clothing souvenir shop, lots of Jurassic Park and dino merch, of course. Again, lots of dinos everywhere, which is, I feel it's to be expected. Just across from Abel's is, as the sign says, our staff only area. It's like a staff quarters area with a little yard complete with a DIY station, a barbecue grill and a place to exercise by the pond. Simple decor outside, but inside is where I popped off a bit more. As soon as you walk in, you're greeted with like an information/reception desk with other admin desks dotted around too. It's a typical office area vibes really, printers, computers, fans, etc. I imagine this area was like a behind the scenes office building with accommodation for like the live-in staff. That being said, the back room is our cafeteria area for the staff. Really just an excuse to use some of my favourite food items from the 2.0 update, but I think it came out cute. The side rooms are very simple, as I honestly only had like so many ideas for what I wanted the interior to be, so we have 2 toilets. Both have a very similar vibe, cubicles, sinks, lockers, etc, with the ladies being slightly nicer. It is what it is. Okay, moving upstairs, we have the sleeping/recreation area. Lots of bunk beds to save on space, more lockers, storage, some books, refreshment, and some amenities for some downtime. I'm happy with how this area turned out. It came out, nice and cozy. I love it. Finally, we have my piece de resistance, my basement command centre. I'm so proud of how this area turned out. This is also the main idea I had for the house interior from the start, but I had so many ideas and like items I wanted to use that we had to move to a bigger room, think of more room ideas, and pay off all the house loans. But the whole area came out exactly how I envisioned it, so it was definitely worth it. Back to Main Street, following the road down, we arrive at our first beach area. I'm not a big beach decorator, honestly. It tends to be like mini builds with general beach items, custom designs jotted around. However, in this corner we have a hidden gem area tucked away behind the beach. It is the cutest dino pool ever. I literally love it. Again, not my handiwork. I googled something about dino ponds and copied it from there with like no name to credit to hand, unfortunately. Sorry. My queen, my absolute queen. My queen. Now that we've hit the shops and got our goodie bag, we're going to follow the beach around to a secret cut through behind Nooks, which brings you out to just behind resident services and completes the first section of our tour. Time for any refreshments and bathroom breaks before we continue. Across the bridge we encounter a more wild and rustic territory as we move on to the exhibition side of the island. First stop is the park's camp. You can pay to camp on the island to have the full Jurassic experience. I imagined it being like parallel to like Disney hotels or like near Disney parks. Lots of foliage, a barbecue grill, campfire, seating, pool, bike rentals, and of course tents. Just a nice way to incorporate the campsite into the island theme, I thought. We had a little sneak preview of this coming up the stairs, but we have another seating / transport area, this being more of like a linear car tour parallel to the iconic Jurassic Park scenes touring the dino exhibits. We have our long bridge lined with electric fencing, again another iconic scene from the film of course. A quick run through the exhibits will show there isn't really many dino villages in the game, with Drago probably being the closest and the most obvious pick, with it being basically 4 AM when I'm recording this to have like the quietest house possible. None of the villages are out right now, unfortunately. The yards are all connected for ease of getting around, but in my head they're all separated. So next door to Drago we have Curly, who is our little bait pig. God, that sounds worse when I say it out loud, but like, I'm just trying to improvise as close as I can to the film, okay? I'm sorry. Next up is Shino. She's our resident herbivore. In my head, the herbivores are like the vegans of the world, so like the snooty villagers work well for that in my head. Like the horns give her like a dino feel also, so close enough. And with her being a herbivore, she's in an exhibit all by herself. Next up is Gala's yard. Again, same text, different font basically. Married up to the dino and their snack. Our little piggy living next to Roscoe, who definitely gives off alien vibes, but his colour also gives dino, so again, close enough. This is Ruby's house. Ruby is in her own little sanctuary. Honestly, this is probably going to be a stretch, but her red eyes and like white fur made me think of like test rabbits. I don't know, I'm not too sure. I struggled with like most of the villages for this island, as we'll see the further we go. But in my mind, Ruby escaped her animal testing life and now lives her days out rent-free, eating hay by the pond. Our last exhibit is a joint exhibit for Frobert and Lily. Honestly, I just love them. Frobert is probably like my absolute favourite villager. Like, I have a couple of favourites, but he probably comes out on top, honestly. I've got him on my New Leaf save file as well. Like, I just adore him. He comes everywhere with me. And Lily is his little girlfriend. I don't know. It's probably a reach, but I'm sure Dr. Wu mentions in one of the Jurassic World films about splicing frog DNA, so that's good enough for me. More waiting areas for the end of the tour, of course, with a staircase that leads us down to the forest experience. We have a little area tucked away to the left here, which is for our maintenance hermit, Dobie. Probably the loosest connection I have to the theme, but I love Dobie and I had no better ideas for villagers, honestly. So we had to find him a role. He keeps the jeeps in running order and has been seen to do dodgy dealings on the secret beach with suspicious foxes. But that's just a rumour. Coming down from the pergola, We hike through the forest scenery and we stumble upon the asteroid memorial. Again, another thing that probably sounds a lot worse now that I say it out loud, but it's a simple area, but I love it. And honestly, using star fragments as decor will never get old. Honestly, just a nice area to sit, take it all in after a long day on your feet. Across from the garden is our much anticipated amusement park. I adore the fairground furniture, and in my head I imagine all the games and rides are like dino related, as they are in the first Jurassic World film. I ended up incorporating ideas from different films in the Jurassic Park franchise rather than just the first film, although it is highly inspired by the first film as that is my favourite. This area is complete with vending machines, cotton candy and crane games, but of course admission will cost you extra, with our ticket booth area at the other entrance. Simple idea, but I really enjoyed the vibes of this area, especially at night with all the lights. Ignoring this bridge momentarily and coming down to our second beach area, if we just run across here, you will come across our Cap'n boat tours, except our pier has been repurposed for a boat tour of a different proportion. Cap'n is now offering exclusive tours to visit the Mosasaurus for the small price of 1,000 bells. I cannot be held responsible for any belongings and or passengers that do not make it back. The only other area of note on the beaches is the bottomless tiki bar on the rocks, completely inspired by the scene from the first Jurassic World movie with the man running from the pterodactyls double fisting margaritas. Pay the entry fee and enjoy bottomless cocktails to complete the trip of a lifetime. Across the bridge we have our dancing dino beach with the gyroids doing their absolute best. I don't have any explanation for this, if I'm being completely honest. I just love the gyroids, don't we all? And these giant scientific test tubes are just so cool. I didn't get to use them as much as I would have liked to, and so we ended up with this weird gyroid ritual area, but I still love it, as pointless as it may be. Our last villager is just behind us, our secluded archaeologist and researcher Petrie. Her laboratory is set up next to the excavation sites for convenience, of course. She has everything she might need out here, like from heavy machinery to pop-up dino books for science, of course. She uses a telescope to study meteors and shooting stars too. I love this area. Again, I feel this is just a really nice way to incorporate the fossils aspect of Animal Crossings and Jurassic Park and like combine them together. Again, to note, none of the custom designs of mine. I googled something about fossils for this, but it's probably my favourite custom design that I used. This is joint first with like the Jeep car cutouts, like they are also just perfect. And that concludes your tour of Jurassic Park. Thank you for joining me on this journey. This may be my favourite island I've ever done. There is one area I didn't show. It was behind the giant forest, and it's just a tiny functional farm there purely so I could make recipes for decor. So it wasn't worth showcasing. It's been nice to relive the island again a couple of months after I completed it, and honestly it's just a nice way to say goodbye to New Horizons. I've loved the game and I still love it for what it meant to me in like 2020 till 2022ish, but I am honestly dried up on fresh ideas and I'm just kind of burnt out from the game really. Although it was really fun to finally see my Jurassic idea come to life, so I am glad I completed the project and I'm very proud of how it turned out too. Thank you again for watching, and if you made it this far, see you next time. Bye bye.